Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
North Carolina was everyone's favorite team to complain about heading into the tournament. Now, what are you going to say? Also, what can we expect from Duke and Cooper Flagg whenever we see him? And why is anyone, much less seemingly everyone, waiting on Aaron Rodgers?
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The North Carolina Tar Heels didn't belong in the tournament, right? This had to have been corruption at the highest level. This is conspiracy theories. Let's go. Okay, well, it didn't really matter because North Carolina took care of San Diego State in about 5 minutes. It felt like a 95-68 final, 95-68. Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels, who joins me now. This is quite the exclamation point to put on what has been a wild week for this North Carolina team.
I mean, what else were we supposed to expect, Peter? Of course, this is what was going to happen after all the hoopty-doo.
Come on.
I mean, absolutely bonkers, dude. San Diego State, this defense, let me just feed you some numbers here. They are first nationally in field goal defense at 37.8%. The Tar Heels just shot 52.6. San Diego State is 14th nationally, allowing 63.6 points a game. Carolina got to 64 with 13 and a half minutes to go. The most points they've allowed in a single game this season is 80. Carolina passed that with 7.5 to go, and they finished with 95. I mean, it's just this is what Carolina can do. It's the exact opposite of what happened against Duke the other night. And as a Tar Heel, you have to appreciate that Carolina gets some redemption and that Jalen Withers in particular gets some redemption and put his foot back on the right path.
How much of this, and this performance in particular, Isaac, do you think is born out of the conversations that were being had over the last few days?
When we saw the video of North Carolina watching the selection show and they see their name and everyone erupts, the player that's in the foreground is Seth Trimble. Everyone else going bonkers around him. He's just sitting there like this. For those of you watching, I'll explain what I'm doing. Just that yep, nod of it's go time. Get out of the way. We're about to wreck whatever's in our path here, namely San Diego State, right? And so I don't think it was we got skin of our teeth. Let's figure it was more of all right, house money. Let's go. Let's make this happen. This is RJ Davis's last run, the second leading scorer in Carolina history, behind only the great Tyler Hansbrough. And I think they played loose and free, and it was clear that they were ready to go.
And when you have a team that has this kind of pedigree, this kind of talent, just play loose. That makes them a dangerous team. This is not a team that I think anyone at any stage is going to want to play. I mean, understanding they did, whatever they want to say, make it into the tournament by the skin of their teeth. And maybe a little helpful nudge from some insiders, but this is still going to be a team where you go, you see that baby blue, and you go, we know what kind of talent this team has.
That's right. And Peter, the thing is, the outcome of and I said this before this game started, the outcome of this game needs to be held independently of whether Carolina's inclusion was warranted or not.
Yeah,
because when we get into the tournament, it's all about matchups and who you're playing on that day and how it goes, right? And so we have to be able to hold this outcome does not mean, the selection committee clearly got this right. Well done. Similarly, had Carolina lost this game, it would not have been, the selection committee clearly got this wrong. Boo on them. We have to be able to.
Well, everyone would have said that, though.
Absolutely, everyone would have said that. And those that have said that, you hope that the apologies would be as loud as the disrespect. But the thing for me is that, and I think I'm able to see this as somebody that covers college basketball nationally every day, that we have to be able to hold these things in balance.
Sure. And so, okay, let's push this forward now. North Carolina.
Sure.
They're probably not going to score 95 points against the best defense in college basketball, but what is a reasonable expectation for this team now moving forward?
Sure. So Ole Miss coming up on Friday. That's the interesting thing. It's not a Tuesday, Thursday situation. Carolina gets 2 days off. The next stop is Milwaukee, which is only a 6 hours drive away. So it's going to be a nice short little plane flight. You get rest. Carolina pulled their starters with 7 minutes left in this game, so nobody had to really expend a ton of energy. It's almost like you just had a nice spirited inner squad at some level. Oh, but just against the best defense by field goal percentage in the nation. Now you get a Chris Beard team that is very balanced. They have 6 players averaging double digits in scoring. They're really well coached by Chris Beard. And if you can get past them, you might face an Iowa State team that's already said they're without their leading scorer in the tournament. Peter, this is the 14th season of the play-in. In 12 of the first 13, there's been at least one team that's won at least a second game. And we've got VCU, who ran all the way to the Final Four in 2011. And we've got UCLA, who ran all the way to the Final Four in 2021, just fell to a crazy half-court shot from Gonzaga, if we all remember that game well. It could happen.
Stay up to date on those baby blues all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Tar Heels on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, we break down the region of death in college basketball. Before we get to that, the receivers in Cincinnati arrive. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You've got to have those 5-12 upsets all ready. Those 4-13 upsets, maybe even a 3-14 in there just to get a little spice. Are we having fun yet? And with FanDuel, they make it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. The tournament games happen almost every day, so there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. Looking at the first 4, there's a matchup of perennial tournament teams in the first 4. The Xavier Musketeers face the Texas Longhorns. Winner will get Illinois next. FanDuel likes the Muskies by 3.5 in this one. Do people say that? Do they call them that? So they do now. Visit FanDuel.com and get on the college hoops action all tournament long. The Bengals held a press conference to announce their monster contracts for their 2 monster receivers. As Jamar Chase says, this is more than just football.
Yeah, for me, just because I know, I really was not trying to let T go for me. I don't know about Joe, but it's hard when you out there and T not out there, you know what I'm saying? It's not easy at all. So, T out there, it makes my job easier. I make his job easier. We make the running back's job easier. So the whole game slows down for me. It gets easier for some people. So he's just a big help.
Over in the NBA, they're playing basketball here too. The Warriors face the Bucks in their second game in 2 nights.
This one had some layers to it, just like yesterday's game. I guess you could start with the fact that the Warriors came out hot. They were shooting the 3 ball exceptional. Everyone seemed to be playing well. There was a point in the first half where I think 4 guys for the Dubs had 8 points. So you were stretching the floor. You were playing unselfish basketball. And the Warriors were up by as much as 17. Then halftime hit. They went to the locker rooms. They talked it out during recess. They get back out there. And the Monstars stole their talent for the entire third quarter, just about the entire third quarter. Warriors turned it over 10 times. They were down by 6 with 90 seconds to go in the quarter, and that is where the momentum clearly shifted, starting with a huge Buddy Hield 3 off a turnover, a little stop and pop from deep. Buddy was huge. We'll get into that. And then moments later, Jimmy Butler fouled on a 3-pointer, definitely baited it. It's about over under about a 14.5 minute challenge there. Took a little bit, but eventually they said that Butler did get hit on the elbow, hits all 3 free throws, and I don't know if the Warriors ever trailed again. Butler sparks it in the 4th, and Podziemski closes it out with great defense from Peyton and from Draymond.
Every year there's a region where you go, oh no. And this year it's the Midwest. It is a gauntlet. It is brutal. Our bracket breakdown experts tell you what to expect.
Like you said, time to go to the Midwest, Kylan, where for the third time in as many years, Houston gets to rep the H, finding themselves in as a #1 seed. They'll take on SIUE, then it's Vols versus Terriers, Gonzaga versus Georgia, UCLA, Utah State, Clemson, McNeese, Kentucky, Troy, and Illinois, and the winner of Texas Xavier. But the most intriguing matchup, at least in my opinion, is the 4-13 showdown between Purdue and High Point. Matt Painter, bless his heart, has suffered more losses to double-digit seeds than he probably cares to remember. We're talking number 16, Fairleigh Dickinson in 2023, 15th seeded St. Peter's in 2022. Again, number 13, North Texas in 21, number 12, Little Rock in 2016. Now, last year, the team almost avenged it all for Matt Painter. They almost won it all, of course, before falling to UConn. So we'll see exactly how it ends up in that bracket for Matt Painter this go round.
A lot to watch for, but Tanitra, I'm sick of all the Big Ten slander today. All of you. Come on now. All right, well, Gordon, we're going to start with your Midwest region bracket breakdown. Xavier to the Sweet 16, a bubble team with maybe lacking some firepower in terms of the resume you've got going that far. What do you like about Xavier?
I do. This is another team I got a chance to watch live at MSG. One thing I really like about Xavier, they've got Zach Fremantle back. Since then, they've been playing a lot better. He's a difference maker, and he reminds me a lot of one of my former teammates, Matt Howard. Just does everything that you want a basketball player to do to help your team win the game. He's setting screens, he's rebounding, he's spacing correctly. He's also a post scorer, too, so a lot of teams, they like to switch now. Can't really do that with him because he's a bucket in the post. So I really like the way that they're playing now. I think they won 7 straight before going into the Big East tournament. And they have some big, strong, experienced guards as well. Another cat from Indianapolis. We know how to play in Indianapolis. He had 38 in the Big East tournament. So that's why I like Xavier.
Fremantle, that versatile big, I also think can be a mismatch nightmare for certain players. What do you make of Xavier not just making it in, but maybe making a run?
Well, what's interesting is since we instituted the first 4, that's 13 tournaments ago, 12 times a first 4 team has not only won that game, but advanced to win a second game. And so Gordon could be onto something here with Xavier. Look out for Ryan Conwell as well, who is an absolute stud to go along with Fremantle. I love that front court, back court synergy.
Tennessee, Houston, what are you watching for in that one?
Man, that's battle of defenses right there. And I think right now I have Tennessee winning that game for a couple of reasons. First off, Tennessee went through the SEC, which was an extremely tough conference.
This year.
That's right.
Basketball conference now, right?
That it is.
Yes,
we're putting that into existence. Yep.
Battle tested through the SEC. They made it all the way to the championship game in the tournament, so I think they're in good form. The other thing is, I think that Houston's going to have a tough time against Gonzaga if Gonzaga can get to that second round. So I don't think that it's a sure thing that they would even match up.
I really like that take on Tennessee and Houston, but I don't
have to go against Jordan. We love a good but here on the show.
I really like Tennessee.
That in a couple different ways, but go ahead.
I really like Tennessee. I don't know if I see them getting past Houston. I mean, Zakai Ziegler, his defensive presence has been great. Jordan Gainey, his impact has been major as well. But I just see them running out of gas if they get to Houston.
That is an issue. Their offense, I think. The offense is the question mark for Tennessee. One thing that I do like about their offense is it seems pretty balanced. So they're not just relying on one guy. So maybe if one guy's not going, another guy can pick it up. But that certainly is going to be a question mark. You can sense a theme. I like the defensive team.
We all seem to be on the same page about that. One thing you have to address with Houston is just the kind of form they're in, too. Winning the Big Ten regular season and tournament titles, it's not easy to do. They've won 13 straight heading into this tournament. So I do think there is some positive momentum this team can build on. And Monique, I want to know, how important is momentum when you go into the postseason tournament?
Momentum is everything. I mean, when you can stack up wins before you get to postseason play, that's how you build your resume. You get your fans going, your team is going. Like, it's just everything clicking at the right time, I would say.
Mo likes Mo. What can we say?
I love that. And I like Andy, so we want to bring him back in on the Midwest region. What do you got for us, Andy?
Yeah, really excited about a lot of these games here. Obviously, for me, Houston-Gonzaga is a matchup that I'm incredibly intrigued by. Gonzaga Gonzaga's offense has been absolutely firing on all cylinders as of late. Really stumbled kind of in the middle part of the season, won some big games early, beat Baylor in their first game of the season, got a nice road win over San Diego State, then really struggled to pick up any marquee major wins for a while, like close losses to Kentucky, close losses to UCLA, and then they picked up some momentum at the end of the season, 3 straight quad 1 wins to close out the year. And I think if they can get by Georgia, which is going to be a challenge in itself, I don't want to assume a win over the Georgia and the Bulldogs versus Bulldogs battle, especially with Asa Newell, the way that he's been playing for that Georgia team. But that Houston-Gonzaga matchup really, really intriguing and interesting to me. I also would have mentioned the UCLA-Utah State matchup. That one's got a lot of fun to me as well. Mick Cronin's team, tough, physical, gritty, defensive focused, but the offense has kind of stalled out at times. I think Utah State, a team that had some really tremendous stuff in the Mountain West regular season, kind of stumbled a little bit towards the end of the year. But when they're healthy, when they're firing on all cylinders, I think they can absolutely take down UCLA. Sorry for another dig at the Big Ten.
Right. I mean, should I just go? Like, what's happening here? But you also have the Cougs winning it all. You told us you believe this is a championship caliber team, no?
I think Gonzaga is going to be one of the toughest battles for them. I think if they do end up getting to a matchup with Tennessee, as we talked about, I think there's a possibility for them to win that one. Again, Zakai Ziegler is going to be an issue for Houston. I think their point guard play, I mean, it's really hard to follow up Marcus Sasser and Jamal Shed. Both those guys are incredible. There's a reason they're both in the NBA right now. And LJ Cryer, not exactly a point guard. Milos Uzan has kind of taken on that role. And he was stumbled a little bit early in the year, and that's why Houston's resume wasn't as good as we've seen from them in the past. But they rolled through the Big 12 like they do, in big part because Uzan kind of found that role. This team is so tough in the front court. They don't have a ton of size. I think all their bigs are 6'8", 6'9". So a lot of people look and think, oh, well, we'll be able to out-rebound them. People rarely do. That doesn't happen very often. Kelvin Sampson's one of the absolute best coaches in the game, and I think that if Houston stays healthy, which they failed to do last year, they failed to do the year before that in the NCAA tournament, if they're able to keep themselves healthy throughout this run, I would not be surprised to see them cutting down the nets.
That's the thing about Houston. Even if they're not necessarily the biggest, they play with toughness and grit, and they certainly get after it on the glass.
Check out the bracket breakdown on Amazon Fire TV channel. Stay up to date all year on college basketball by subscribing to Locked On Sports today. It's all there for you, plus Locked On College Basketball on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, nobody, and I mean nobody, should be waiting for Aaron Rodgers. The quarterback market has been depleted. There are now 3 teams looking to one man to make a decision, but why? Why are 3 teams waiting on Aaron Rodgers? Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins and Kevin Ostreicher discuss why nobody should be waiting on Rodgers.
My grandmother had a name for people like Aaron Rodgers. We call him a quiet, sneaky mess. And what that is he ain't going to bark. He's not going to raise his voice. You won't see him demonstratively acting out. He'll look like he's the kid in classroom that is just sitting there and he's as quiet as a mouse. And he's always got that little half smile on his face, like he doesn't have a care in the world, like everything is fine. And he feeds the homeless and he pets stray dogs. But quietly, he is causing all kinds of mayhem because of what he's not doing at that position. And that is being a leader.
Kevin and Tony are right, of course. Nobody should be waiting on Aaron Rodgers. He is not a long-term plan for anyone. And at this point in his career, he is not good enough, really, to be a mercenary plan for anyone. Maybe. The Minnesota Vikings, with Sam Darnold, won 14 games last year. Could Aaron Rodgers be Sam Darnold? If I just cooked your noodle a little bit here, it's because that's what's happening in Minnesota. That is what they are considering right now. All of the toxicity that comes on and off the field with Aaron Rodgers. This Vikings organization is looking at them going, we might be able to win a Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers. And there are Vikings fans in my life going, they're not interested. JJ McCarthy is their guy. Then why not leak it? Why not call Diane Orsini, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, Adam Schefter? Hell, call me. I'll tell everybody that you're saying, we don't want Aaron Rodgers. This is our guy. JJ McCarthy is our guy. They're not doing that, which means they are considering it. And you know why the Giants are considering it. We talked about this on our NFL Squad show the other day. It's because they are desperate. They are in ass covering mode. They're trying to save their jobs. Really bad position to be in. But it's not the best thing for the Giants to go sign Aaron Rodgers. For what? To do nothing. And for the Steelers, you really want to put Aaron Rodgers on the field with DK Metcalf and George Pickens and Mike Tomlin, that's crazy talk. The reality is the best thing for the league is for Aaron Rodgers to get Bill Belichick and everyone to just say thanks, but no thanks. But those decisions are not made rationally. And Aaron Rodgers wants to be in Minnesota, clearly. And finally, while the governor of West Virginia mulls legal action for the snub of the Mountaineers from the NCAA tournament, their coach is getting out of town. Former West Virginia coach Darian DeVries was announced as the new coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. DeVries signed a 6-year deal to move to Bloomington after spending just 1 year with West Virginia college sports. Being a coach in college sports is just the best, isn't it? If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, will you be ready to fill out your bracket? We'll get you ready. So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.